hydrate. Hydrate for
Okay,
28.
we are now
Great.
recording.
Okay. I officially call this meeting to order at 11 a.m. Woo! Okay, hi everyone. My name is Snow, and I'll be doing the opening for today's session. And today we're going to be doing the SAA/historian/editor session for this year's Officer Training Conference. Welcome everyone, and a huge congratulations on being elected into your position. I'm very proud of all of you, and I'm also super excited to work with you guys this year. And I'm pretty sure all my counterparts also feel the same way. So to start off, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and have your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the Key Club pledge and raise your right hand. I pledge on my honor to uphold the objects of Key Club International, to build my home, school, and community, to serve my nation and world, and to combat all forces which tend to undermine these institutions. Ooh. Okay, so now that we kind of have all our opening things done, I'm going to hand over the floor to Bethany, who's going to be presenting today's SAA. So if you want to start presenting and take over.
Aaliyah? Is Aaliyah here?
Sorry, yeah.
Aaliyah.
It's
Would you
taking
guys
a little
like me
while
to
to load.
present?
It's okay, I think. It's just taking like time to load because it's on like the CCSD account for some reason.
It's fine. It's fine. While they're handling that, Bethany, you want to start talking since it's kind of the SAA's job to do that.
What do you mean? What do you mean to start talking?
It's just kind of like fill in the blanks, introduce yourself, kind of start the vibe.
Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Essay Historian and Bulletin Editor OTC here. I got Josh and Aaliyah presenting with me. And then yeah, on to the essay presentation. Okay, so yeah, this is a Sergeant at Arms presentation. So on to introductions. My name is Bethany, and I was an SA in my sophomore year, and I was DLT junior, and now I was a president, but then I retired, so my hobbies are PC games, and fun fact, not really a good flex, but I'm top 9K on Osu Taiko, which is a rhythm game, and I'm top 1K in the country, and I also like hard cookies and corner brownie pieces. So your duties as SAA. Okay. So first of all, you call attitude check, and this usually call attitude check before before your meetings, when the president wants to start the meeting, and then you kind of like have to be like attitude check, and then everybody's like, we love Key Club. I mean, you can't do that virtually, but if you were in an in-person setting and everybody was too loud, then you would call that. You'd also call that either RTC or any other service event or anything when you need the members' attention like really quickly. So like for example, let's say the like person who's in charge of an event that you're volunteering at needs to get everyone's attention, and then you're just like attitude check, and then everybody's like, okay, we love Key Club, and then you're like, hey, can you guys pay attention? And then yeah. You can also use a jazz hand method. This is really helpful when there's a bunch of people and everybody's too loud and you're not able to say like attitude check. So then you just kind of start being like, and then someone will be like, oh, hey, they're doing that thing. And then they'll be like this too. And then it kind of creates a domino effect for everyone because everybody knows this thing is where you stop everything you're doing and just do this and be quiet. And so it gets everyone's attention. Next up, this is your main task, but you basically regulate members during meetings. And what this is, you just tell them to be quiet if someone's not paying attention to the president when they're presenting. You can be like, you can walk up to them and be like, hey, can you pay attention or whatever? Like this really is important information. This also just goes if there's like any type of like anything going on in the back of the club too. If like I know people talk and they just go at the back of the club while someone's presenting and then just make a bunch of noise. You're like, hey, can you like be quiet or whatever? And then you're good. Additional tasks are also icebreakers. So you just think of icebreakers and you can like bring them up at board meetings. You know, don't be quiet at board meetings. Like even though you're SA, like still put in your like your opinions and what you could do as SA, because I know SA is kind of like a small position. So think of icebreakers or think of like your own, or you know, pitch them in at your meetings or events and whatever. And you also have happy sad change. So if you don't have happy sad change, it's basically the essay kind of goes around with like some type of bucket or some type of like container and goes around the room and collects change basically, and members can donate change to talk about the day. They'll be like, hey, I have happy change, hey, I have sad change, and this is why. Or they can be like, hey, I hope you guys are doing well. Make sure to do your homework and drink water because hydration is really important. And then bam. And all that money that you collect during Happy Sad Change will go towards a certain charity. For us, it goes to PTP, and it's really nice. As of right now, we can't really collect that change. So what we did at our meetings is have happy sad hour, and people can still like talk and kind of share that like social vibe. For cheers, I don't know what the situation is about cheers, but still making cheers is really nice and really hype. So when you're making cheers, they're usually at RTC. If you're going to join the spirit committee on the division level, you can join that too. But you're gonna be making your three main RTC cheers, and you can make spirit battle cheers unless you already have like a spirit battle cheer. But you know, it's good to make more, especially if like they're really modern and really nice. Some tips is to start early, especially like during the summer or something, and like you have like a certain like rhythm in your head and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to remember it now. Like record it down or else you won't know it. So, and also get others to help. You don't want to make your cheers like in September just for RTC to be the next month and you haven't taught your cheers yet. That's why it's really important to start early. Teaching cheers, oh my gosh, teaching cheers is hard, especially if you're awkward. If you're awkward, that like sorry, but that sucks. So that like if you want someone to be with you when you're presenting, do it, because when you make it awkward, everyone will know that you're feeling awkward. So that's why you can get others help or kind of like hype yourself up and be like, okay, I can do this. And when you're teaching cheers, make sure to stay energetic. Because it also shows the members that you enjoy your own cheer, and they'll also enjoy like that cheer too. And this will kind of like help them memorize it, especially if the cheer is like catchy and it's like a good vibe. You know, someone doesn't want to do something if they're in like a bad mood. So like, you know, they'll like do better if they're in a happy mood, and you gotta like elevate that. Also memorize your cheers beforehand. It kind of sucks when like when you're reading the cheer off your phone. I mean, like, of course you can look at it if you like don't like really remember some parts, but it's okay. It looks better on for you if you memorize your own cheer. So that's why it's good to like kind of memorize your cheer and like be like, yes, I know my cheer exactly. So next slide. So for some tips and tricks, make sure you talk to members at meetings, whether this be like before the meeting or after the meeting and you still have enough time. Go talk to them and be like, hey, how are you guys doing? Like, you know how Snow was like before the presentation started. She was like, hey, what's up? Always go for the new members. Like, go around, if you guys are in person, go around and like be like, hey, what's up? I haven't seen you before. Like what, like how, why are you in this club? Not like why are you in this club, as in, hey, like how did you join? Like how did you find out about Key Club? You know? And kind of like talk to them. Like, right, for example, my president, or I guess, yeah, my president now, he joined Key Club and he stayed in Key Club because when I was SA, I went out towards him and I was like, hey, what's up? And because of that, now he's president. Like, you know, who knows? You could be talking to the next president in like 2 years. So, yeah. Also talk to them outside of Key Club. If you remember their faces, it's good to remember their faces and also names. talk to them and be like, oh, hey, hey, Snow. And then Snow's gonna be like, you remember my name? and I'll be like, yeah, of course I remember your name. I just saw you at the Key Club meeting yesterday. and and then they'll remember that. They'll basically have it in the back of their head, be like, wow, that person remembered my name. And like maybe I should go to the next Key Club meeting, and I'll be friends with them or something. Especially if they're freshmen too. I think freshmen will try to find more friends, so they're more comfortable in their freshman year. And even then, even if they don't want to be friends, or not don't want to be friends, but they're not actively looking for one, be their friend to kind of guide them even through the school year, not just Key Club. But yeah, ask members if they're going to the next meeting. So when you're asking members if they're going to the next meeting, not only are you caring about them if they're going to the next meeting, but you're also kind of peer pressuring them in a way. So for example, you'd be let's say I asked Snow, hey, are you going to the next meeting? You're going to the next meeting, right? And then Snow's like, yeah. And then in her head, she's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I had to go to the next meeting because they're depending on me to go to the next meeting. They're expecting me to be there, so I should be there. And it is peer pressure, but you're also showing them that you care about them and value them as a Key Club member. And that's what also that's kind of inclusiveness, one of our core values. So it's really nice to get that factor out there and show that Key Club's really inclusive. And yeah. So next up we have Be Social. So essay is kind of one of those essay is a comedic relief position, even though it's such it's a position where it's a position where you're regulating the club and you're kind of the mean guy, but you're also the funny guy. So when you're having meetings, make sure you talk before the meeting when there's silence and you're it's awkward, and you also talk after the meeting. You need to know when to fill the silence and kind of be open, basically. If you're kind of an awkward or kind of you're not really that social, then it's fine. But try to put yourself out there as SA, especially since as board, it's kind of good to talk to the members and put yourself out there. Another idea is have a joke of the week. So at the meetings, after Happy Sad Change or before Happy Sad Change, you can be like, oh, why did the toilet paper roll down the hill? To get to the bottom. Oh, and then you could just say that joke, and there's so many other jokes you can say, some random jokes, and people will be like, okay, but maybe they'll laugh depending on the jokes you say, but another tip is when you're doing icebreakers, make sure you stop when the fun is at its peak. So what I mean by that is when you're doing some type of icebreaker, let's say what's an in-person icebreaker? Not a soulmate, but just any type of icebreaker. When you see that all the members are having fun and they're having really fun, that's when you shut it down and you're like, okay, guys, there's gonna be an icebreaker, or we'll have another meeting next week, and maybe we'll be doing another icebreaker. And they'll be like, dang, I was having so much fun. And they're gonna correlate fun with Key Club and Key Club with the meeting, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I need to go to the next meeting because it'll be fun. If you drag the icebreaker out to the point where it's not fun anymore and people are getting kind of tired, they'll associate that feeling of being tired and be like, oh my gosh, are we doing it again? And they'll associate it with Key Club, and they'll have a lower chance of going to the next meeting. So that's why it's kind of good to stop it at its highest peak. It sucks, but you need to know when they're when they're stopping or when they're really having fun. Extra committees. So extra committees are really helpful, especially if as SA you don't do that much. Compared to the other board members, they kind of do stuff almost around every week. And I understand the SA slump, and you're like, wow, I don't know what to do after RTC. Well, I have an idea for you. You can have a social committee. This can depend on your president. But if you personally ask them, I'm pretty sure they'll be down for the idea, especially if you explain to them that SA doesn't really do much by itself. So what social committee does is you can have around 2 other people, and maybe even include their class reps to be part of it, especially since class reps don't really have some have a bunch of tasks to do. So they basically take charge of socials and like other icebreakers. So you can personally go ask other schools, for example, like what you could ask like Southwest or something. I had to ask Southwest. I had a social with Spring Valley, and you can ask to have like inter-club socials and do like a Jeopardy or some type of like service event basically. And that event will also give you hours too, and while you're also having fun. And other tasks, if your VP is already like too busy or something, and like none of your board can really like take up that opportunity to like do stuff, you can give like some tasks to your extra tasks to your social committee. Also, if it really pertains to the social aspect, then like really get them to like do more stuff. When you're also recruiting for the social committee, is usually do interviews, and it's also a good opportunity to get members more involved with Key Club if you already don't have like a bunch of positions already. So it's a really nice opportunity. Cheers. So for cheers, make sure you make 3 cheers, especially for the 3 rounds in the division level. And then if you get to the region level, like if you get that far, and make sure you have like you make one if you really want to, but it's best if you just make 3. But if you make like some cheer that's like specific for the region version, then like maybe you'll pop off, maybe you won't, but like who knows. So but I find that it's easier to already do a cheer that everybody knows from one of the 3 cheers. So make sure you ask for help. So for example, what we did in like my freshman year, we had like spearheads, and so what the class reps did is basically collect submissions from their class of like of members cheering, and they chose which one of them was the most spirited. And so those spearheads basically at RTC, they cheered in front of the board compared to like being in like the middle or all the way in the back. So they basically were cheering with the board and kind of being as loud as they can be, and it kind of gets your like club like out there, and then they'll be like, wow, they're really loud, like maybe we could vote for them, and then they can go into another round. But yeah, when you're making cheers, try to make your own catchy rhythm. So it's good to be original. If you're doing a whole parody, like let's say I don't know, if you're just doing a whole rap song and it's the same beat over time, it's not going to be flashy or anything, especially if you're just sitting there and you're kind of like, yeah, Key Club, and like that's kind of, and it's just the same thing from like for the next minute. It's going to be a bit boring and everybody's going to be tired. So that's why you have to keep the environment like rushing and kind of like very hype and everything. And so not only does it make your club more hype, but other clubs will like hype you up and be like, oh, because that's how RTC is. We hype each other up, and like the DLT and LCG would be like really impressed, like, oh wow, that's a really catchy rhythm. I think that's going to be stuck in my head. So like for example, like the Clark cheer, like CCCLA AA Eric, you guys know that cheer, and like even you have to make a cheer that will like be really catchy, that'll be stuck in members' heads, so it'll be easier for them to memorize. So even other people from other schools know the Clark cheer, or even the Southwest cheer. So like, because it's just catchy and easy to remember. So next up, use modern trends in your song. So for example, you can do like TikTok moves or TikTok songs in like some of your cheers. So don't make it like the whole basis of your cheer, just have it in there like a little like Easter egg. And be like, oh yeah, like, we know TikTok. You can also include memes like the baby, for example, and you can include in your cheer like, let's go. And then kind of implement that in your cheer, and everybody will be like, yo, they put the baby in there. And then like everybody will know our cheer. So we also have claps and percussion. So getting claps in, and like also like some type of percussion, especially if you're like kind of like clapping like this. If some of you guys are in like music, and you guys don't rush, it's also helpful if you guys clap, and so your club doesn't rush. But it may be like a little bit messy if you guys do clap, but clapping is really nice, especially if you have some type of rhythm. Another example of percussion, kind of at Clark, we like it was my brother's like senior year, but at RCC they basically had these paper bags that were like blown up, and what they did at the end of the cheer is that they kind of like popped it, and it made like a big like kind of a boom sound. But like, you know, we made sure that we like, or not we made sure, they made sure that they like kept it by them so it wouldn't litter the ground, so you know. But that's a really nice idea, and they actually won the division stick because of that like really unique idea. So you know, you could try to implement that in your own cheer. Next slide. Icebreakers. So some icebreakers also include soulmate. So with soulmate, I know it's really repetitive, especially like after doing it for like a lot. But you know, like what can make it really fun is having members be really, really, really picky. So let's say that you're like, I only like people who have like a cup of noodle wallet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Cause I have a cup of noodle wallet, and everybody would sit down, and I'll be like their person's soulmate because they were that specific on their like opinion. So you know, you can put some crazy examples out there, and members will like roll with it and be like, okay, and then they'll get the gist of it, and then you guys will just laugh at how picky the person is. And when they do find their soulmate, they'll be like, whoa, what the heck? Like, I didn't know you have all these qualities that I said. Next up, we have Love Box. So Love Box basically is kind of like a cute, not really I guess an icebreaker, but basically what happens at the beginning of meetings, you have a Google form that members fill out, and it includes like name, message, and like to who, and you also can put anonymous on it, and then people can write cute messages to anyone, even advisors, even board. And at the end of the meeting or event, the president or the board reads them all out and is like, oh, I care about you, and you know, I hope we hang out soon, to like someone else, and then that person will be like, oh, that's so cute. Next up we have escape room. So escape room is you kind of just use a Google form and like put random questions. So I'm sorry, Miss Sansi. I thought it would change the question, but basically, an example is, what is Mrs. Sansi's Instagram? And someone would be like, I don't know. Like, everybody would be like, I don't know, but some random person who doesn't really talk much would be like, oh, I know it. And then they'll be like, it's RA5 zombie penguins. Sorry, Miss Nancy thought I was creepy when I was presenting the president one. Okay, President OTC, but that's kind of like a random question that you can ask, and like they'll be weirded out when you know the answer, but you know, you can always just search it up. Like you can like search stuff up, and then you can find the answer. So another example is like, how do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? And everybody would be like, I don't know how to spell that, but someone who's watched that movie like 10,000 times will be like, oh, I know how to spell it. And then bam. So your goal is to just answer all the questions until you get to the end and kind of escape the room. Some examples that are already out there, that have already been made is the Mouselets. It's kind of like a Disney theme. Next one is like a Harry Potter theme. And then there's a Minecraft escape room, and then there's one that's kind of like one-on-one, but I'm pretty sure you can do it in like groups, which is a lone together escape room. So you kind of have to communicate with the other one and be like, hey, can you do this? Like what like clue you have? And it's really nice. Next up, we have scavenger hunt. So you kind of what happens is like a random slide pops up on your screen, and it's like, take a selfie with a face full of flour. And what you do is you go run all the way down to your kitchen and get a bowl of flour, and and then bam. So an example of that is that picture of me right there at RTC, and they had to have us send pictures to random numbers for me. I had to send it to my friend, and she was laughing, and I was like, okay. But you know, it's really funny how competitive people can get, especially if there's some type of prize. My incentive was, if I'm not winning at RTC with cheers, I'm winning the scavenger hunt and the charades. So, Clark took that dub in that breakout room, but so like, for example, you can also put another example, take a picture outside, and members will run outside just to take a picture, like a selfie, and be like, cheese, and then they'll send it to you. But yeah, it's really fun, especially when the pictures are rushed, because all my pictures were rushed because I was rushing, and like I was like, I want to win. So another example is four backgrounds. So what four backgrounds is more of like we did this in the district events, but it's kind of like Russian roulette. So let's say the president gives out like four backgrounds, and you can choose either one of those four backgrounds or like no background. And so the president chooses a background or like no background, and if they choose your background, then you're out, and then you kind of lose, and then it goes on until like there's one person standing. We had one where there was the same two people for like 6 more rounds, and like it kept on going until like one person won. Next up we have Jeopardy. So Jeopardy is really good when you're doing with some type of other club, or you're kind of doing like a Key Club 101 basically event, and you kind of put Key Club facts or any type of topics you want, and see what team wins, see who wins, and then more icebreakers can be found on the CNH website, and also I'm not sure if they're updated for virtual, but you can also contact other SAAs if you want to find more icebreakers. And make sure to add competitiveness. It's really important when you're having your icebreakers. So for the takeaway, if you can't do cheers, do not worry. You could still make cheers anyways, and if you're like, if we're not gonna be cheering for RTC, then like, what's the point? And that's okay. But make sure you're still keeping your other duties up. Like, think of ways to get members engaged. So like, use happy sad chains or happy sad hour, and be like, who wants to speak? Like, about their day, about what's happening. They'll be like, oh, it's a happy hour, it's a sad hour, and then this is why. You can also do joke of the week, so they can, like, members can have a little laugh before the end of the meeting, and then they'll the positivity and associating that with Key Club, they'll probably go to the next meeting. And also try to do more than what you're expected to. Again, don't get that essay slump, because oh yeah, I can share that with everyone. But yeah. And yeah, don't get the essay slump, because I know after RTC, I did not know what to do besides say attitude check. Like, that was the only thing I did. So I gave my SAA like the social committee, like for example, committees there, and and also like just some extra tasks, and also advertise. So if you guys do have a social committee, make sure that social committee also advertise any meetings, events, and stuff. And like get like them to hype up the events or meetings, so that more members will go. Because I know at the end of the year, less members go, and it really sucks, especially for the presidents here. They'll be like, maybe I am not doing good enough if no members are going. But make sure you advertise and stuff. And remember that SA is not a small position, no matter how much you think it is. It is not a small position, because you're still part of the board, and you still have like around the same amount of tasks as your other like fellow board members. So yeah. So is there any questions, comments, or concerns? If Miggy, why is Miggy here? Okay, if Miggy has like a list, I can probably, okay, Miggy, I'm pretty sure, has a president group chat, so maybe he can send that list to the president group chat, and your presidents will send that to you. So we'll let this man in. Yeah, so you can, if Miggy sends that list, then you can just ask your president for any more icebreakers ideas, because I didn't really have one. But is there any questions? Is there any comments? Concerns about the baby on my slides? I'm gonna give like 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording so they can share.
Before they share, so